Good evening, good afternoon, good day. This is one I just found on the back of some things, pieces of paper I'd used for printing something else on. Story I'd almost forgotten. However, it's not bad. Mary was at the living room window to see them arrive when Donald was at the shops. She knew it would annoy him and he wouldn't feel safe until they'd gone, but secretly she was pleased. The countryside beyond the garden visible from her chair was very beautiful and changed with the seasons. But sometimes, when one was trapped in the same spot, it seemed that the seasons changed very slowly. It was good to have some human interest to watch. The ground dropped away from the bungalow to the road and then levelled out gently all the way to the small river that ran through the bottom of the valley in the distance. The orchard across the lane was of the new low-growing trees and didn't obstruct the view. Almost opposite was the gate into the orchard. The farmer had left a large space unplanted just inside it, where he could turn a tractor and trailer easily, and it was here that they came with their little van and caravan. The first time had been in the autumn, and they'd worked in the orchard with the other apple pickers, but then they'd returned in the early spring and summer for a few days, and the young man had constructed the enclosure made of 4 posts and 4 fence panels in one corner of the space. This would be their 3rd year. It was Donald who had noticed the boxes. When it got dusk, he would close the curtains and bring her chair into the room where they'd spend the evening together, so she was no longer able to see out. But he had gone out to fetch more wood for the fire they occasionally had now the central heating was switched off, and to check the perimeters, as he put it. He was some time coming back, and when he did was excited by what he had to tell her. The van had driven up in the dark, and instead of parking by the caravan, had driven over to the enclosure in the other corner, where he'd put all his lights out before unloading the van in the dark. Why didn't he leave his lights on? Speculated Donald. His battery might not be very good. It looks a very old van. Donald grunted suspiciously. He could have left his engine running if that was the case. No, it must be because he doesn't want to be seen. He pulled that fence panel off one side and loaded boxes and boxes in there, 20 or so, piled 2 or 3 high, and lifted up off the ground, and then he nailed the fence panel back up as though nothing had happened. Donald had kept an eye out after that, and a few weeks later, when they returned with the caravan, he had spotted him loading the boxes back in the van soon after it had got dark one evening, and then driving off. He was gone some hours, and the van was empty once more when he did return late that night. He'd followed the same suspicious routine the following year, and Donald had been planning for his return, certain he was up to no good and eager to solve the mystery. Mary wasn't so sure. She had time to watch and observe, trapped in the chair. The clothes they wore were old, yes, but they were patched and cleaned, and the ancient van and caravan had been hand-painted. That sort of hard work didn't fit in with her idea of a criminal mind. And anyway, didn't criminals have money to burn? Donald's suspicions just did not add up to her woman's way of thinking. Still, there was no stopping him. She just hoped he wasn't going to make a fool of himself. Around dusk, the van had driven off and Donald had made the fire up for her and then slipped out, dressed in dark clothing, to position himself down near the gate and wait for its return. She questioned whether he needed to go so soon, but he assured her that the first trip, collecting the boxes, was a short one, and it was only when he took them away a few weeks later that he was gone for long. Sure enough, it was not long before she heard the little van drive up. And then, unexpectedly, she heard Donald's voice accosting the driver as he got out to open the gate. There was a long pause during which she heard low voices, and then the van drove off and there came a timid knock at the back door, which opened to reveal the hesitant-looking figure of the girl in the doorway. "Hello, what is it? Do come in." "I'm ever so sorry, but your husband had a fall on the steps going down to check the front gate and hurt his ankle. Dave has run him into casualty, just in case an ambulance takes so long, and I brought a blanket over him to keep him warm. I'm sure he's going to be okay really, but it's better to be safe than sorry. It's lucky we just dropped the bee boxes by the gate. I'd better go and move them into the apiary off the ground, but I'll come straight back." Mary came to know her new friends very well whilst Dave was incapacitated with his twisted ankle. They were a lovely couple. Thank you. In case you didn't catch on, I used to keep bees, you see, and you'd move them down to an orchard come spring. They'd be there for the flowering. Then early summer, you'd move them away somewhere else where there would be more nectar for them. I used to put them on oilseed rape fields, but some people take them all the way up to Yorkshire and put them on the heather. Yeah. And then, of course, move them somewhere to overwinter in the autumn. But you need to do it after dark, when all the bees are at home. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.